And a lot of times you hear all kind of racist sentiments from different people saying, "Go back to Africa." Stop crying, stop complaining. If you don't like it here in America, leave. Go back to Mexico. All kind of racist things that you hear. But essentially, when I did come back to Africa, it was very surprising to come back to South Africa and see here in South Africa that unfortunately a lot of whites here in South Africa consider this to be their land, and a lot of black people are guests or visitors on their land. It doesn't matter if you're African American, it doesn't matter if you're South African. They have a lot of racist ideologies and philosophies towards black people, and I find it to be very unfortunate.
Hi guys, welcome to Kenganda. My name is Janita Maya and this is a StreamYard interview. Now, I was on the internet the other day and I came across the YouTube brother Make Africa Again. Hi.
Yeah. Hello. Yeah. How are you?
I'm okay. I was just doing your intro, but I think you can do your introduction way better than me actually. So just go right ahead.
Yes. Welcome, family. I am here in South Africa. I'm African American, and I have a YouTube channel called Make Africa Great Again. Not meaning that Africa isn't great, but we can make it even better. My name is King G. I'm from Chicago, Illinois, and I live here in South Africa. And I had an unfortunate situation happen in the past month or so.
Oh, perfect. Let's talk about how long have you been in South Africa? Like, how long ago was it?
I moved here 2 years ago. My fiance is South African, so I moved here 2 years ago.
Oh, lovely. Now you're African now. That's a long time. Welcome.
Yeah.
So since you have a fiance in Africa, I'm guessing that's why you had to pick South Africa, right?
That is true. I chose South Africa because she is South African, and I like South Africa is a very beautiful country. It's very beautiful. Cape Town, Port Elizabeth, Sun City. South Africa is beautiful.
Yeah. We were just talking before we went live. We were talking about how some South Africans, think they're superior because of that closeness to whiteness. Would you say that could be the reasons that's why you picked South Africa as your ultimate destination? Because South Africa is modernized than so many other African countries. So would you say, like, the people who moved to South Africa because the way of living is closer to the way of living they had in the States. So do you think that had some sort of contribution to your decision?
No, I wouldn't say that it had a contribution to me moving to South Africa. I would say that it was just because me meeting a South African and me coming here. I guess you're kind of right. It was more developed, and me coming here, me visiting South Africa, I was impressed by the beauty and no more so the development. Just me impressed by I was just happy to be back in Africa because I was tired of dealing with America. America is there's a lot of problems going on in America. So I just wanted to come here and live in Africa.
Okay, thank you for that. Now let's go over to your clip. We're actually going to insert it right here so that people can see what we're talking about.
Where we were trying to educate you guys on what's going on here in these impoverished settlements with whites and blacks. You know what I mean? So,
hey, come on, you guys. Hey, don't you leave? You're from America. Why don't you go back? We've got enough problems from the corrupt government people here. Please, leave our country, man. We've got enough trouble here.
But I don't understand your hostility towards me. At the end of the day, I'm just as African as you are.
Yeah, but all the black people are corrupt in this country.
Yeah, but...
No, you must go back. Rather send white people here, it might become better here.
But this is my country as much as it's your country.
No, but hey, you guys come from America. You still shit in my country. Why don't you go back, rather?
No.
You've got enough problems from the people here.
My advice to you is if you have a problem with this country, maybe you should go back to Europe.
No, I'm born in this country, so how can I go back to Europe? I've got nothing to do with Europe.
But I just don't appreciate the disrespect.
I'm African. What's your story?
Wow.
Afrikaans.
I'm more African than you are, just to educate.
Yes, English is right now.
So you said you had gone to the slums. Like, let the people know why you had decided to like go to that. Is it you called it a squatters camp?
Yeah, they call it a squatter camp here. I went there to actually educate people because my thing is in America, a lot of times they see a lot of poverty that happens in America. I mean, they see the poverty that happens with Black Africans. So I wanted to show poverty with white South Africans and show that poverty is not just affecting one race of people, it's affecting all demographics of people. So I went there to educate people on the poverty that's taking place here in Africa, but I didn't want to necessarily highlight the poverty that was taking place with Black people.
And this particular camp has like more white people.
Yes, it's white and Black, but it's majority white people. Yes.
So tell us, so after getting there, you mentioned that there was some hostility from people. Could you tell us about that? Do you think it was because you had like a camera with you? But you mentioned that you're also giving out some items. So let's understand why they were hostile towards you.
I think they were hostile towards me because I'm from America. I think it was called, in America, we call it economical envy. So, for them seeing a Black guy from America coming and passing out money, passing out food, I think it was economical envy. And there was a little frustration that I kind of picked up from my first interview with me being there. But I was just there to educate people on what was going on in these impoverished areas.
And take us through the time that you, like from the moment that you got there. So the clip just shows the white guy and then some other person. How many people did you talk to in total, and how was like the reception of you, even if they were hostile? Like, what were they saying here and there?
Well, the black people, it was all love. I talked to at least 30 people, so it was a lot of love from the Black people that I talked to. But with the white people, it was love to a certain extent, but there was a little hostility because, I think they might get a lot of people coming there and recording, but it was a mixed emotions. But I saw a lot of Black people, a lot of white people, and the Blacks were more embracing towards me than the whites.
That's a win for Black people. Okay, now we get to the white man. Is he the first white person you talked to when you were at the camp, or had you talked to other white people, and how did they treat you if you had talked to them?
The first guy I interviewed, there was a little hostility, but he was fine. He expressed to me that he has frustrations with a lot of us foreigners coming there and just donating or giving money, and that they're stuck in they're stuck in poverty, and he felt like that they needed more help. But then when I talked to the second gentleman named Gareth, he was very helpful, he was very insightful, he was very articulate. And a lot of whites who find themselves in these impoverished settlements are due to drugs. They're using drugs, they're abusing drugs, and they find themselves in these impoverished settlements. And it's nobody's fault but theirs, essentially, to be honest with you.
When I watched the clip, that's something that stood out to me. You said when you were in the States and you're doing the protests, you had a white person tell you need to go back to your country. And then you're like, okay, so Africa is where I belong. You get to Africa and there's still more white people telling you to go back to your country. Let's dissect that.
I've been protesting for a while now with Black Lives Matter in America. And you have counter protests that come to counter our protests and what we stand for. And a lot of times you hear all kind of racist sentiments from different people saying, go back to Africa, stop crying, stop complaining. If you don't like it here in America, leave, go back to Mexico, all kind of racist things that you hear. But essentially, when I did come back to Africa, it was very surprising to come back to South Africa and see here in South Africa that unfortunately a lot of whites here in South Africa consider this to be their land, and a lot of Black people are guests or visitors on their land. It doesn't matter if you're African American, it doesn't matter if you're South African. They have a lot of racist ideologies and philosophies towards black people, and I find it to be very unfortunate.
It is unfortunate indeed that, that people like that still exist and think like that in Africa at that. Like that's horrible. Like, I never when I saw the video, I was just like, this is not real, but I guess it is. People are crazy out there and very loose in the head, is what I'll say.
No,
Because
they're entitled. They're entitled, and it's due to the government. The government here in South Africa has made them feel entitled.
And you know what? When he was telling you the whole go back to your country and whatnot, you told him, why don't you go back to your country? And he said, oh, I was born here. Like, oh, I may be white, but I was born here, so I have more rights to this country than you, who is, dark skinned, who is black.
No, I've heard that from white South Africans and black South Africans. Black South Africans will a lot of times say that to Nigerians or Cameroonians or people from West Africa. They will articulate the same sentiments as their oppressor, saying that you're not South African, you're not from this country, and it's very sad, to say the least. And unfortunately, South Africa is it's a beautiful country. The people are nice to me. Because I am African American. But I have friends who are Nigerians. I have friends who are Cameroonians. I have friends who are throughout Africa, and I see how they are treated differently compared to me, and that's I don't like that.
When you say treated differently, do you give us examples of that, on how they're treated differently from you?
I think it's because a lot of Nigerians, unfortunately, have a bad stereotype around the world. So Nigerians, they kind of get a bad stereotype. Zimbabweans, they have a bad stereotype because they say that a lot of them come here and commit crimes, and some of that is true. Some of it is true. So they unfortunately get a bad name and a bad reputation, whereas African Americans, we don't have a bad reputation because there's not a lot of us here in South Africa or moving here. So our reputation is not necessarily as bad as the Zimbabwean or a Nigerian, where they look at them as coming here to just, take the women or take the jobs or steal their resources, unfortunately.
South Africans call Nigerians jollof, which is insulting to me.
Yes.
When a South African lady gets to the Nigerian guy, like, she has called herself a jollof. I'm like, what do you mean a jollof? Because jollof rice is like mainly West African, like Nigeria, Ghana, and whatnot. But if there are South Africans watching, I need you guys to defend yourselves in the comment section. So I want to before we get to the other part, I want to get into how you're treated. Like, how do South Africans treat you, like the black ones?
Mutual respect. They're very inquisitive. They want to learn more about America and why am I here? Because a lot of South Africans have this misconception that America is great, so they're very confused as to why would I come here to Africa when America is the greatest country, so they're very accepting, and they find themselves, I find myself a lot of times talking to them and them wanting to learn more about me and why I'm here, because a lot of South Africans want to leave South Africa and go to America or go to Europe. They ask me a lot of questions, and I have a lot. There's not as much hostility towards me, and I understand that because I'm African American and not Nigerian and not Cameroonian or not from Uganda or one of these African countries where they don't necessarily respect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. I feel like if someone is to see the title of this video, I'm sure they will jump to a conclusion already and say, okay, yeah, as an African American, so now South Africa is off the table for me. So I didn't want this video to discourage them, but I also
Yeah.
I wanted to shine a light on the possibility of meeting certain unhinged people in said country. Um, there's something else that he said. He said you mentioned that why would you come to Africa and white people are still treating you poorly, you know?
Mm.
Because as an African, to me, I wouldn't relate to this sentence because I my encounters with white people are not that many, and I listen, I only see them if I look for them, is what I'm trying to say. So, like, a normal African wouldn't relate to this sentence, but you, as an African American, I'm sure you've gone through certain things or experienced certain things that makes this sentence powerful to you. And I would just like for you to like dissect it a bit for people like us.
Yeah. What sentence was it exactly, by the way?
You didn't want to come to Africa and sorry, I come to Africa and white people are still treating you poorly.
Oh yeah, that sentence. For me, it's just when they tell us they come to Africa, essentially you think you're coming back home and you're going to be embraced in that. It's not so much racism, essentially, and you think you're coming home and you're escaping a lot of the hypocrisy and the democracy of black people being unfortunately discriminated against. So you think you're coming back home to only come home and still have the same sentiments being told to you from in America, as far as go back to Africa, and then you come to Africa and you're being told to go back to America. Because essentially they don't see me as the same as a South African or an African. They see me as different, and it's quite perplexing and complex to comprehend. But I don't understand the same rhetoric that I was hearing there to hear here, and get it's not the same treatment, because black people are the majority here in South Africa, where the whites are the minority. But here in South Africa, a lot of the nicer areas, the wealthier areas, whether it be Sandton, whether it be Cape Town, a lot of the wealthier areas, you're gonna see a lot more whites who still hold on to those same stereotypes that they've hold on to during the apartheid. And that's why I went to Orania, which is an all-white town here in South Africa, to understand the way they think and a lot of their philosophies that they have. And it's very unfortunate to see a lot of the same mentality that their ancestors have still being um, perpetuated here in 2024.
Indeed, it's 2024, and some people want to live in the old age. No one wants to progress or grow up at that point. It's very childish when I see certain things like that. It's really childish anyway. So thank you so much for that. I think that makes me understand that statement a little bit more. The white guy also made a comment. He said black people are destroying this country. What did he mean by that? If you got him to explain it anyway.
I think what he means by that, a lot of whites, and it's not just whites. Let me say this: it's not just whites; it's blacks, colors, it's all demographics here in South Africa that feel
Yeah,
like,
it's the Rainbow
uh,
Nation.
yeah, the Rainbow Nation. They feel like the government, which is now predominantly black people, are destroying the economy, and they feel like foreigners who come to South Africa, whether you be from Nigeria, whether you be from Mali, whether you be from Kenya, doesn't or Uganda, you're looked at as a foreigner who's only here to destroy the country even more than the black people that are within this country who are already destroying the country from within. So they look at a lot of their presidents. I've heard a lot of blacks and colors talk about that things were better during the apartheid, that the government in the apartheid was more sufficient, was more helpful than the black government that is now taking the ANC, which is taking control over the government here in South Africa. They feel like it was better during the apartheid era than it was now. So any black person, whether you be South African, whether you be Nigerian, whether you be African American, they feel like all of us are here destroying the economy of South Africa.
I can. I'm sorry. I'm shocked by some of the things you've said. Um, and just it got me thinking, like the government during apartheid, like who did it benefit? Was it the white people or black people? Why would you sit there and think that was that type of government that had extreme discrimination was a better government just because a few buildings were put up, but you were treating people like garbage? I'm gonna get into it. Okay. Yeah. Oh, you've triggered something. Okay. Yeah. So there's that. It's really, really unfortunate. But tell me the aftermath, because the lady behind the screen kind of said, "Oh, Jermaine, let's." I don't know if she's telling you, okay, let's leave it at that. But what was the aftermath? Once the video cut, the cameras cut.
Off of camera, he was an older white gentleman. So I didn't want to be aggressive or be nasty because he seemed like he was poor and drunk. But off of camera, I told him that his sentiments and the things that he shared was very racist, and not all black people are here trying to destroy Africa or South Africa. And you must understand the reason why you find yourself in these unfortunate circumstances is because of your poor choices. And that South Africa, a lot of the major corporations here are still owned by whites. A lot of the land is still owned by whites. So if you clean yourself up as a white person, if you do the due diligence, you can find opportunity here in South Africa as a white South African. A lot of these white South Africans who find themselves in these unfortunate situations is due to their poor choices of using drugs. And for me, I don't make excuses for them because it goes the same in America. If there are African Americans who are using drugs and are on the streets, they're treated accordingly. And you have African Americans in America who are educated and still experience racism. But here in Africa, especially in South Africa, if you go and clean yourself up as a white African, you can still get a lot of opportunities that black South Africans or foreigners cannot get. And I told him that, and he didn't like to hear that. But, that's what I expressed to him, that, you using drugs or you abusing drugs or alcohol or whatever you're using is why you find yourself in these unfortunate circumstances, and don't blame anybody else but yourself.
And what did he say afterwards? Like after you gave him the hard truth? Was he happy with that, or was he mad?
He ended up listening to me, and then when I said that, he had a little bit to say, but then he asked me, "Well, can I get some money?" He wanted more money out of me because I had given other people money, so he wanted money, and I gave him like 300 rand. And after I gave him the money, he was more he wasn't so hostile towards me, and he understood my sentiments. But he also expressed that he feels like white people are doomed here in South Africa because of the black government. But I'm too educated I know what's going on, and I know that a lot of the major corporations here in South Africa are owned by whites, and you have a lot of whites here in South Africa that are managers that have high positions in a lot of jobs here who are not even qualified due to the complexion of their skin. So we agreed to disagree.
Well, he shouldn't have taken your money. If he wanted you to go back, he should have been very prideful and said, "No, I don't even want your money." But that can never happen. Yeah, we've come to the end of this one. Is there anything else you'd like to add about this, about everything that happened to you? But I was sorry that it happened to you.
No, thank you. And I think what I want to add is for people in the diaspora, whether you be in Jamaica, whether you be in the Caribbeans or in America, don't let these things discourage you back home, because for the most part, my experience has been a very beautiful experience. South Africans are very hospitable towards African Americans and foreigners from the diaspora. So don't let my experience make you not want to travel to Africa, because that's not what I'm here for, to discourage other people from coming to Africa and experiencing the beauty that is here in Africa. Because essentially, some Africans get annoyed with my YouTube channel, which is Make Africa Great Again. I'm not saying that Africa isn't great. What I'm saying that Africa can be much better than what it is now. So, I encourage people from the diaspora to come home and visit and check out, whether it be Kenya, South Africa, Ghana, Uganda. Come home and you will see that you are loved, and that majority of the people have a lot of love for African Americans or Africans within the diaspora. It's majority love.
Yeah, I love that statement, and I think that's the perfect way to end this. We are not trying to discourage anyone from moving to any African country, but we also want to shed light on what's happening sometimes. So it's not like it will happen every time. But yeah, that's amazing. And for the people who are watching and they want to like follow you on your socials or YouTube, could you please go ahead and share that with us?
My YouTube channel is Make Africa Great Again. I took that from Donald Trump, and we can make Africa even better. And I also have a cash app called South Africa MAGA. South Africa MAGA. MAGA. If you want to support the movement, please do support the movement. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you will see a lot more content of me here in South Africa, traveling throughout South Africa, going to Durban, going to Port Elizabeth, going to Cape Town, going to throughout South Africa, and highlighting the beauty that is here within Africa.
Thank you for that. Thank you so much for sharing. We appreciate it. Guys, please go ahead and follow his YouTube channel, and send him some little support here and there on the Cash App. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. You can follow us on all our social media pages at King and the Nation, and you can also follow me at my personal YouTube channel at Johnny Tamaya. I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.